Tillman having a great season. You know who's loving that? The guy who brought him in. Earnie Stewart, now in charge of PSV. Let's hear what he had to say.
When you joined PSV and you looked ahead to this season, you joined midway through last season, did you ever think you'd be in this position on an unbeaten run, not lost a game? It's unbelievable, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you always dream that way. The ambitions are always there, but then, where we are today is, sometimes you need to pinch yourself at the same time of the amount of points that we have right now, and especially just going through this season and the way we played the first half of the season, and kind of getting back to that rhythm once again. Yeah, it's been a fun ride up to now.
One of the things I've loved about this is you're so forthright as a club in how you want to play. Mm-hmm. You're sort of unapologetic in the fact that whoever it is, we're going to play the same. We're going to go for you. We're going to attack. We're going to play quick football, etc. Is that part of the PSV DNA?
So when I had my first conversations, we talked about we have the second budget of Holland, and Feyenoord is really close by as well. So that means in the mindset that you can probably buy pretty much the best players, and if you do things right, you should be able to play in a certain style, a certain way. In the end, it's also, everything is about the fans at the same time. So you want to play a way that you can win games, but you also keep fans in the stadium at points where you might not win games. So, and one of those things is just your playing style. And we feel that this fits very well with PSV and that the style we're playing. So you find a coach that can do that as well. After, unfortunately, Ruud van Nistelrooy stepping down, we went out and found a coach that had the experience and did that for a longer period of time, and then getting those players that fit within that philosophy as well is part of what all of the summer was about. Some came quicker than others, but in the end we found the mix that we wanted to make sure that we could play this certain way.
When you kind of looked at the summer window, as a sporting director, head of sport, when you look at the players you've brought in there, you must be delighted with how they've all worked out.
Almost all, yeah.
Almost all. That's not bad, eh?
No, that's not bad. But once again, it's like when you have a philosophy of what you want to do, it makes it easier to make choices after that. So if you have the big picture in your head, the choices that you make from an individual standpoint, they just become a little bit easier. At the same time, we also, instead of as one of our competitors paying a lot of money and then sideways, we made sure that we paid money for quality, and those players that could bring a certain amount of what was needed within creativity, what was needed in being able to score goals. So that was our route, and I'm happy that up to now this has worked out.
How much did you draw upon, like, obviously years of experience, but from a sort of American point of view, you look at the three players you brought in there, you must have known them for a long time as well from your previous role?
Yeah, so that does make it easier. When you're searching for those types of players that fit within that style. This is also something that was when Greg Berhalter and myself spoke in the beginning of the way that we want to play. If you ever want to become world champion, you have to be able to play through lines. You have to be able to be dominant, and that kind of fit within the thought process that we had here as well. In a club competition, and then the international competition within the Champions League for ourselves, that you have to try to be dominant. You have to be good on the ball. You have to bring your game upon the opponent if you ever want to hit those levels of success. That is my belief. That was our belief. And then knowing the players that fit within that, does make it a little bit easier when you have choices, because also scouting over here, the way that it worked, had these players on their lists, and then obviously the connection is a little bit easier if you know them. Yeah,
and I know they're three individuals, but looking at the three of them together, they've each overcome adversity within their playing careers at quite a young age. They've had to get through certain things, like Ricardo obviously with his year, Sergiño not playing as much as possible, and also Malik coming in through such a competitive academy at Bayern Munich, and What sort of, do they have a joint mentality in that? Do you see, when you look at these young players, you see the sort of the mental strength they've got as well? Is that something which comes into play with you when you're looking at them?
Yeah, I don't know if those three have a joint mentality, but at the same time, it is like if you've struggled in life, no matter what it is, it makes you think about other things a lot more. So I'm pretty sure if there's a connection there, those players have all went through that in some sort of way, which then helps them in their further career. And I think all three are just separate individuals, from a person to a player, and the qualities that they bring. But if there's they've played together for a longer period of time within the national team program, and then also just what they share in common is they probably have struggled here and there, but that has made them the players they are today.
So, Pepi, you signed him permanently on a permanent deal. What have you seen from him so far? And obviously a huge amount of potential there as well.
Yeah. Ricardo's a player that has a certain grit when he gets onto the field and plays his game. He's lethal in the 18-yard box. It's amazing once he has the ball free how well he can strike that ball and hit the back of the net. And for him, his development lies in the playing piece of the way that we want to play and when do you show and from day one until now, if you see his progression, it's fantastic. For Ricardo, it's just unfortunate that he's playing with one of the best center forwards in front of him of Europe right now, and that is scoring goals like crazy. But Ricardo's development has been amazing. He's been an outstanding teammate, and he's part of one of the reasons why it's pretty difficult if you don't play at the time. And this was something that we discussed on the front side. Watch and learn from somebody who's done it over and over at the highest level, and he's doing that. But he's also been an amazing teammate for the rest.
Have you had to manage that with him as well? Because I imagine as a young striker, you just want to be playing every single minute of every single game.
Well, the managing piece, it does make it easier if you've discussed this beforehand, and there's going to be a time that Ricardo is needed and that he steps onto the field and just you got to make sure that he's ready for that moment when it arrives. And so yeah, here and there, you can tell that the disappointment of not playing a game or anything like that. But once again, he's been an amazing teammate for the rest, and this is probably, it's not. The success of today is not 11 players. It's the whole of that group that's sitting downstairs right now.
And you were talking about those moments, getting ready for those moments when he comes on severe, a case in point.
Yeah, those are storybooks right there, and the way he came into the game, and that grit that he brought, and then finishing off the way that he did, and us coming back from not being able to be in the game, and then all of a sudden with one goal, all of a sudden we're there, and then you saw the eagerness of the team from the first player that came on and the subs with Ricardo, we pulled it out.
Talk to me about Malik.
Yeah, special player, special in every way. Playing in tight spaces, being able to play 1v1. His link-up play is great, and then great, and the amount of balls he takes away from people in midfield, it's uncanny. His development has been fantastic. As his personality has grown as a person, he's a bit quiet, can be quiet at times, and that's how he came in. But if I see him now downstairs with the group, he's, from a personality standpoint, he's really grown as a person, and you see that on the field as well.
Do you think that's something which has always been in him? Is it partly the environment, or is it like a sort of thing of him getting older? You forget how young these guys are as well. Do you think it's just him getting more confident in himself?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of, and I'd say the environment is important too. The environment that we try to create here, it's a I'll just say a family environment. That's how we try to treat our players, and that helps then on the field as well. And then obviously Malik is getting, we'll just call it older, but at the same time that brings experience with it, and the combination of all that together makes him the player he is today.
Where do you think he'll end up settling in position-wise? Do you think he'll end up being a 10?
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, you know, he's very versatile. I think he can play the 10 role, the 8 role, and the 11 role. He's a multifunctional player, but at the same time, I would say 10. That's his position. That's where he's. That's where, at least where I like to see him, where he can do his magic, and then he has the opportunity to play on in other positions as well.
When he was at Bayern, Nagelsmann was saying that he could learn from Kimmich in that sort of demanding the ball a bit more, being, I guess, selfish, perhaps the wrong word, but being a bit more confident on the pitch as well. Is that something you've seen here? Do you see him sort of demanding more, like coming out of the shell on the pitch as well, like we saw him yesterday as well?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean that's the personality piece that I'm kind of talking about, where he's he's a reserved and quiet person, but and you know I've seen that in these 8 months that we've worked together, I've seen that grow, and that has also helped him on the field as well. So I understand what Nagelsmann was saying at the time, and that is something that he's really progressing in at PSV at this moment. So happy for him, and you know he's an amazing player.
And Sergiño, I mean, Barcelona, AC Milan, Ajax, it's an unbelievable CV for someone so young as well. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, so I remember the first day that he came in towards the end of the window, and we playing Glasgow Rangers, and the coach asked me because Sergiño had already said, I can play. There's no problem at all. And then Peter asked me like, is that possible? I said, yeah, Sergiño's capable of that. He's just a player that has an unbelievable. His body is built for, knock on wood, but his body is built for high performance sports, and he can do the most amazing things. He's an offensive back, which just helps us in the way that we want to play, getting up and down the sideline as he does. And in the beginning of the season, it was very much a connection with Noah Lang, and now it's a connection with Chucky Lozano. But he's always that extra man, if can be in midfield, but also going forward. So those are the things that Sergiño brings to the table. And he's had a set of clubs now. I think it's important for him to be at a club for a longer period of time, and then make sure his trait gets better and better and better. And then once he goes to those bigger clubs that he's already been part of, that he goes there as a mainstay.
Do you hope that with him and Malik that they continue here then? Is that sort of the dream that they stay?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. That's more than fair. That both players are players that have done fantastic for PSV Eindhoven, and yeah, I can say that we hope both players stay.
With Sergiño, you can see offensively, like yesterday, for example, in the system you have, he managed to carve himself out space on the left through his movement, through the way that Feyenoord perhaps sometimes went narrower. Sergiño is there, puts in all of these crosses, always beats the first man as well. How have you seen his offensive game develop, and also his defensive game? How have you seen that evolve over the past year or so?
So that offensive piece we already knew. That is something that he did for the national team, and that he does for PSV Eindhoven. So that's something that's in him, that's innate. And then the defensive piece is something that I feel he's gotten better and better at, and where his development probably lied and still lies. But like when Sergiño's on and he's concentrated and everything, he's the most toughest person to play against. I wouldn't want to play against him. And so he's been showing that over and over again now with his team, and once he has a combination of that, his concentration defensively, then that offensive piece is something that just comes natural to him.
Did you ever think we'd see a day where you have Dest linking up with Lozano, the US-Mexico link up on the wing?
Well, when I was working for US Soccer, no. Yeah. But now here at PSV, it's fun to watch, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about US Soccer? What have you made since, obviously, when you left there? What have you made of their development since? And obviously looking ahead to the summer with Copper as well?
Yeah, hard, because I've left that organization, so I don't really know what the inner workings are. I do have a lot of contact with Greg Berhalter. BJ Callahan was there yesterday, obviously with the players, through the players. But my job here is a lot of work, so I don't really get to enjoy watching what's all going on the other side right now. But yeah, Copa America is coming up. They have after the World Cup, pretty much still for the most part the same group is there, and I look forward to seeing how they're going to develop and then do really well during 26.
What's Greg been saying about Malik, Sergiño, and Ricardo here? What sort of conversations have you had with him?
Yeah, so Greg calls here and there to make sure, and not only Greg, Oguchi Onyewu, they call just to see how the guys are doing, where they are, as people, but also as individual players and everything. So yeah, I'd say every month and a half, Greg and I jump on a phone call and talk about these players and how their development has been.
Finally, success next couple of years. What does success look like for you?
Success is probably, becoming champion every year and also playing Champions League every single year, bringing players in that take the next step in their career and go to even bigger and better, and where financially the club is also in a really good position. And then what we started with first and foremost is making sure that every seat is taken in Philips Stadium. And that people come to the stadium in belief that their team is going to win, and hopefully we do win. But if we don't, that they come back the next time because of the way that we do our things.
Just one last bit with my US hat on. We're looking at ahead of US-Mexico in the future. Can I ask you what your favourite US-Mexico memory is?
I don't know if I have a favorite. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. Those rivalry games, they really brought out the best and the worst, by the way, in both teams. I think the best part about it, and this was after I quit playing, was we played Mexico in, I think it was Nashville. It was, yeah. This was one of the first times that we played each other, and that I was sporting director for OLGM at the time. For the U.S. national team, and then you meet the Bravos on the other side, and that you had these intense clashes with all the time, and after that you're like brothers with one another, and that is probably what sports is about. Even though on the field, you as I said, we brought out the best and the worst in all of us, and then after your careers, that you can still, hug each other, and I think that's the best part about the rivalry in itself, even though they're so intense at the moment that you play them.
You know what's interesting about Earnie Stewart, Herc? There was some risk involved in being an American guy and bringing in, all these CONCACAF guys, but specifically 3 U.S. internationals in really kind of your first window in charge. It could have gone terribly wrong.
Say it.
It's been the exact opposite. It's been a smash, grand slam home run.
Say it. It could have gone like what? Like
Leeds.
Like Leeds. And that's what I thought everybody was going to be, or the narrative that was going to be going on there, bringing in the American ship, bringing in CONCACAF. Chucky Lozano, I understand, because Chucky Lozano had 2 very good seasons at PSV, but when you bring in some virtual unknowns, and a player that is known in Sergiño Dest, but wasn't coming off great seasons, it's a massive risk, but it's a risk that's paid off, and oh boy, did he make the jump from U.S. soccer to Dutch football at the best possible time, and it worked out in his favor.
Yep.